Hey everyone, and welcome to NGF News. My name is Alec, and we have Joshua. For today's latest global developments, we're going to be talking about Russia and North Korea relations, as well as Coup and Gabon. We're bringing up Russia and North Korea today because there's been a massive thing in the news where Kim is expected to talk with a top Russian diplomat to very soon. Actually, I don't know exactly when the date is because of security reasons, but Kim Jong Un does plan to travel to Russia to not only meet the high level diplomat, but also meet with Vladimir Putin and discuss North Korea involvement into the Russia Ukraine war. There are talks about providing weapons to support Russia. The location of the talks is currently uncertain, which is clear. They're going to hide it from the news.
Absolutely.
So this is big because North Korea hasn't really funded or provided weapons for a massive war. I think the only last time I can remember is the actual Korean War where North Korean weapons were used. I may be mistaken, but I don't remember what other time in history North Korean weapons were involved in a conflict.
Well, they weren't even North Korean; they were Russian weapons given to the North Koreans to fight off the South Koreans, and some Chinese weaponry. So, I
There
mean,
was never really
it's
North. There's nothing North Korean.
no, it's all old Soviet tanks, old Soviet weapons. To be honest, probably old Soviet tactics at this point. I mean,
Yeah,
it is interesting though because North Korea had said Kim Jong Un had sworn that they were not going to get involved with this war. They were not going to send weapons, and the fact that this is a deal that could be negotiated and that Kim Jong Un wants to go to Russia and meet Putin himself. I mean, he's already met Putin, but meet with Putin himself, discuss an arms deal. I mean, that changes the dynamic of the war, and who the allies are to Russia and the United States.
absolutely. Yeah. So this is kind of massive for this arms negotiation between Russia and North Korea. And the White House clearly has responded that they will do everything in their power to make sure that they will, quote unquote, pay a price. This is directly from Reuters, and it's kind of a strong message from the United States saying that they will make sure that North Korea will pay a price if they do provide weapons to Russia. I mean, what can they do? What is there to do? We have placed sanctions on them. Their people are starving. What more can the United States do to make them pay a price?
I mean, you said it all. They have sanctions. They've tried to economically squeeze them. There's nothing more that the United States can do except send diplomats over to North Korea. But that is tough to do because Kim Jong Un's not going to want to have a meeting with them. Why have a meeting with someone that's going to tell you that you can't do that? I mean, that's exactly the opposite of what Kim Jong Un would want. And so the United States has little in their pockets except to just monitor the situation and see where the weapons go. And the only thing they can do is sabotage those weapons from getting to the Russians somehow. Blow up the train or steal them. Because we can't use American troops. What are we gonna do?
I mean, Ukraine gets sabotaged, but not the United States.
Yeah, we can give them the intel. That's about it.
We've been giving them intel on Russia for so long.
Yeah,
But, I mean, was this going to happen? Because you said before North Korea did not, or was not willing to provide those weapons, but now there's been such a switch of heart where North Koreans want financial resources and food in exchange. They give Russia weapons in exchange for the resources and food, which it makes sense. I think North Korea is going to continue running dry, and they have
yeah,
no partners to bank on. Not even not even China. Like China is giving them financial resources and food just because they feel bad. I mean, like the whole
yeah.
world has shut them out, and they still have a population, and it's kind of like why China's just saying they're like, well, someone's got to do it.
Yeah, no, that's true, and one of the reasons I'll tell you why that North Korea changed its stance, and I believe that there's some level of confidence within allies of Russia, and when I say allies, I kind of mean it lightly. I'm going to say BRICS and North Korea as allies. They have some confidence that Russia is turning a little bit of a tide. Now, Ukraine is still very much winning this war, pushing back soldiers, killing troops, stopping any plans that are, trying to get to the capital. But there's a growing confidence that Putin has an army that can get to the capital and take down Ukraine and absolutely just win this. So I think North Korea, I think it's the same reason why Xi Jinping isn't going to G20. He had no reason to go to G20 or not to go to G20, but because Russia's not going, I think the confidence that they're going to win, China is like, all right, well, why do I have to go?
Do you think putting North Korea? I want to go back to the BRICS North Korea um talk for a second because I found that really interesting. I never thought of that. Would BRICS be willing to not accept North Korea into BRICS because I think that'd be very controversial, but see them as like an ally and try to put them on a global stage? Because personally, I don't think BRICS wants to take that risk because they're already in hot waters by the international community. I mean, the West. It's kind of a West-East divide. So
Yeah.
would they want to be into more boiling waters with West? Should they provide some support to North Korea?
I would say that BRICS and Russia is not going to associate, period, with North Korea, except for on a country to country basis. Because
Mm-hmm.
there's two reasons. If North Korea joins BRICS, South Korea is going to walk up to Japan and the United States, call an emergency meeting, and basically tell them, if you don't give us nuclear weapons, we're going to build our own. Because I don't know if you remember, when we did an episode where we talked about South Korea that were thinking about building their own nuclear weapons because they're very scared of the North Koreans. And I think
I do remember, yeah.
them joining BRICS, I think that's the push. I think that'll be because we calmed the South Koreans down for it. We were like, all
Mm-hmm.
right, relax, nothing's gonna happen. But if they join BRICS, that's a tipping point. And
That's when
I really don't think Russia and China want that. I really don't.
no, they don't need nuclear. Well, no one wants nuclear weapons in that region. So I don't
Yeah,
think they're yeah. But I do want to talk about why Russia might be interested in North Korea. And I want to bring up the North Korean missile programs and how many missiles they're trying to build. They're not the best quality.
yeah,
Let's just be frank here. The North Korean missiles aren't the best, but I'm seeing this as Russia is kind of running out of options for weapons supply for weapons supplying, and I think they're trying to turn to North Korea to get some of their missiles because what North Korea can't get tanks. North Korea, they're all the old Soviet tanks. I mean,
yeah,
you could hit it in the barrel, and the barrel will just fall off the tank. That's how old they are. Their air force non-existent, but they do have missiles, and they're very keen on their missile program. So I think Russia is interested in what the North Koreans can do with their missile development program, and what they're. I think they're interested in the science and what they're doing. I think
yeah.
they might purchase a few missiles from North Korea and just rebrand it to put Russian lettering on it to make sure that it doesn't to hide the fact that they were North Korean. But
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's a technology share thing where they're sharing, information. Because I think if the Russians know anything, like you said, the North Korean missiles are not very good. Their military is not very good. Their weapons are not very good. But what Russia can do is give them the tools. I mean, Russia is not an ill-equipped army. We've seen that they're less equipped than we believe, but they're not an ill-equipped army. So maybe Russia's trying to train them. Maybe Russia is going to give them more weapons that are up to date in terms of phase 4 machinery and technology in terms of armory and planes and aircraft. But I don't believe that they're going to North Korea asking for weapons unless they are really that desperate. I mean, are they really that desperate? I don't know.
no one knows.
Yeah,
If they are, they're doing a great job at hiding it up until now. But I do believe that they are somewhat interested in maybe developing missiles there for cheap.
mm.
because it would be a good spot to do it, and North Korea does want to be relevant in some way. So the best way to do it is to bring missile manufacturing and money into their country, and they could feed their people or whatever they want to do. But I highly doubt Kim Jong Un is going to use the money that they made from selling weapons and give it back to the people. They're just going to continue funding their nuclear missile, the development of their nuclear missiles.
Yeah,
Should they sell just regular medium or short range missiles?
absolutely. And our other co-founder, Gabe, when we were talking about this earlier, he made a really good point that North Korea really only has a certain amount of weapons they can give before there's nothing left, you know? So North Korea handing over that many weapons to me seems ambitious because just of how old everything is and how many they got. So maybe there's some underlying things that are going to go on in this meeting that Kim Jong Un really wants from Russia, but I don't know. I don't think Putin's going to have any room to really do technological shares at the moment or give North Korea anything. Or maybe they're forcing North Korea to give them weapons. I mean, what do we truly know? It's the National Security Agency knows most of what is going on and haven't told the public yet. So
I think the North Koreans can't blow this opportunity. In the North Korean perspective, their only chance in gaining some relevancy and partnerships is going to be through Russia. So they really have to be cautious with working with Putin and kind of making sure all his demands are met, regardless of what North Korea, well, what Kim Jong Un has or hasn't. He's going to try to make it work because he has no choice. Should he want a partner? Because other than that,
yeah,
if he loses out on this deal, it's just going back to the same old isolationism.
yeah, and maybe the fact that he might go back to that because he might see the relationship as there's no really reward for North Korea might just change his attitude. Probably not, but you never know. Things can happen. But
Something will
this is
come
a
out of it, but
something's going to come out of it. It's going to be bad too. It's not going to be good.
yeah.
It's not going to be good.
But I don't have anything else on this. If you want to move to the next one,
Yeah,
but this is
absolutely.
something that I will absolutely be updating this. I mean, this will be on our blog post. This will be on our website eventually as a blog post. We're gonna put this on there. For
Yeah,
those who are new, we do have a website now. If you go to www.ngfnews.com, I got that right.
yeah,
You can see all our blog posts. We're starting to upload there, links to our podcasts, bunch of different things. You can see our faces in our About Us section, but we will be
yeah,
updating you guys on the situation between North Korea and Russia because this has significant consequences on what the tide might happen to in the Russia-Ukraine war. So do keep an eye out on that.
yeah, absolutely. And you can read the article that I wrote about the next topic that we're discussing about the coup in Gabon. At the time when I was writing these notes, I wrote attempted coup in Gabon. But the reality is that military has full control over the country at the moment. So just to give you a little background, the president Ali Bongo, he is part of a long dynasty of the
Oh yeah.
Gabon presidency. And when I mean long dynasty, long for their standards of governing, because most of the countries in Africa were liberated and either lean socialist or communist dictatorship or went democratic. But Ali Bongo and his father served 41 years as president, and then Ali Bongo himself, he's been elected in his second term. Many believe that that was a false election. He did post on Twitter, I believe, I'm to send a message to all of my friends that we are all over the world we have all over the world to tell them to make noise. For the people have arrested me. But despite his actions and saying that that he's not in the wrong, the people are living large. There were celebrations in the street. The person they put in charge, who was the I forget his name, but he was the Republican Guard chief. The soldiers made in charge, and he basically said thank you to the army. We've been waiting for this for a long time. So this is a part of eighth coup in the last 3 years in Africa. All of these coups have been former French colonies.
Colonies. I
Yeah.
think you said the after the coup, people were celebrating on the streets, right? At
Yeah.
the end of this dynasty. I think it's I read that it's because Ali Bongo and other officials that are close with the dynasty have been accused of things like treason and
Yep.
embezzlement. So this is something that the military coup had enough of this, but it's like a revolution, but there's still concerns over whether there'll be a democratic election. Now, this coup said that they have promised for new elections, but is that going to actually happen? I highly doubt it. Highly doubt it. After out of the previous coups, not counting this one, the seven other coups, how many of them actually turned out to be a democratic election
Or had elections. Period. I mean,
at all?
you
Yeah.
could you can say that they were elected, but I think in most cases someone was just placed as the head of the state
Mm-hmm.
because they just needed a government, and you can't feed your people without a government, and you can't run taxes without your government, you can't run infrastructure without your government. So they had to just place someone there, and yeah, you're right. They've exploited resources, natural resources. They said that they have like $92 million worth of real estate in France. So yeah, the
Jeez.
people are happy. The people are definitely going to be happy, and I think as coups stand in Africa, this is probably one of the most justifiable ones, in my personal opinion.
For the right reasons, but the methods are going to be absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
After the fact that the coup has happened, the reason for it is good. I think people should have the right to revolt should their leader. But if you're throwing coups for a leadership that has had democratic has run the country democratically and as should, then there's problems. I think we have to be careful with what we say with what's good and what's bad. But they're gonna
Yeah.
find out soon that this coup is going to be dangerous for Gabon because they're already. I think they've shut down internet access. They've shut down broadcast. So they still promise their elections, but no one. There's no way to watch them. There's no way to verify it. There's no way to know what's going on in Gabon right now.
Yeah, no way. And they also have a curfew, I think, from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. to, I guess, stop the violence, quote unquote. And it's an unfortunate string, in the last, this is the eighth coup, like we said. There's a lot of reasons behind this, and we're going to get into a topic of the week about coups in Africa very, very soon because this needs to be discussed. But the African Union strongly has condemned the coup, obviously, but it's done relatively nothing about it. You haven't heard about African Union diplomats discussing things with Gabon. You haven't heard peacekeepers being moved in to help the people of Gabon, from just maybe potential violence that could occur. I mean, there were still people that supported the president or the former president at this point. So it it shows that there's still a lot of turmoil within Africa and a lot of different ideas that are still going around and a lot of corruption. But the AU, the African Union, is doing little to nothing to solve these issues broadly. They're just trying their best at this point. I guess that's the best word I could come up with.
I could say that's the same thing about the international community in general. I mean,
Yeah.
the United Nations response, and people say, well, what is the UN going to do, right? After like two, three coups in one continent in the span of under 3 years, you would think that would initiate some sort of international response to say, okay, there are 8 different coups in a matter of 3 years. There has been failed elections multiple times. Governments are being overthrown. Governments are being
Hmm.
overthrown. Yet, let alone an African Union response, an AU response, where is the international community on this? We're so tied up with things going on in Ukraine and China that we're not focusing on that there are a billion plus population in Africa that are facing these 8 coups, and they're facing, and countries that are not a victim of coups are facing the fallout of coups. There's going to be refugee crisis. There's going to be unprecedented crises that are
Hmm.
going to stem from these 8 coups, and it's only a matter of time before these coups, over time, are going to cause much more problems than what it is right now. These are just the initial effects, but what are the long-term effects of these coups? Will this spill over into different countries? Will different countries in Africa go from democracy to autocracy? Will the AU lose control of Africa? These are all questions that need to be addressed that we are not bringing to the table. And I think the AU needs to go up to the UN and say, listen, or the Security Council and say, listen, you may have your differences, but I have a whole crisis in my continent.
Yeah, the international community has long ignored Africa. No matter what happens in that continent and which country, it doesn't matter. It is ignored. Why can't the U.S. send officials over and say, "Hey, can we negotiate and oversee your elections so that we can ensure their peace? We just want to see him. We'll leave right after it's voted. We're gone. We'll promise you that. We just want to make sure they're fair." The only time that we really truly intervened in Africa was in the Sudanese civil war that just happened this year. And you know who was the real people like negotiators? Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia were the only reason that that ceasefire even happened. The U.S. kind of just sat there and agreed and didn't really put forth anything. That's the biggest issue I have with the international community. Every time we blame a crisis because of some refugees and immigrants that are trying to leave their country that's being torn up by war or tyranny, and then we're like, oh, we have an immigration crisis. Like, no, you have a crisis of not helping people in need. Like, go help them at the source, and you won't have a problem with them coming to your country. Go send them food, teach them how to govern, invest in them. They deserve it, especially after all of Europe colonized them for how many hundreds of years. Like, at least give them that.
Hot take: coups would not have been a thing had there been a significant amount of foreign direct investment into different
Yes.
problem areas. And here's why. They wouldn't risk losing that foreign direct investment. Now, there have been a few countries in Africa that, I don't know which of the, I think the most recent one, not Gabon. Uh, why
Niger?
can't I think? And Niger. The the United States, France. I don't. The United States did not pull out all their aid, but I know France did, and I think another country did. They pulled out their aid where they shouldn't. I think they could have used that as a leveraging tool to say, listen, we know that this foreign direct investment has not been enough, and we have not been clear with you on how to use this money. Stop right now, and here's what we can do for you with this money. We'll make a balance sheet for you on how to use this money and how to build up infrastructure, how to build up everything. I think we're not using foreign direct investment as a good enough leverage. The Chinese don't care. They are in there with their money, getting what they want and leaving. They don't care if it's a problem. Now, with
Yeah.
it's a long and lengthy process to go from foreign direct investment to return on investment over time. It takes a while, but long-term solutions will result in an industrialized and innovated Africa. And you wouldn't have coups because they wouldn't risk losing on what they've built. But we haven't built enough for the coups to stop.
I, I absolutely agree because if there's one thing that always talks is money. It's the truth,
It
and the
sucks.
fact,
It
yeah.
sucks that money is the only talking point, but like,
What can you do about it? I mean, like money is the thing that's going to fund education. It's going to be the thing that funds roads, infrastructure, government, investing in natural resources, creating financial institutions, driving capital for them to invest in outside of their own country. That is going to be the thing that fixes Africa. In a sense, is if we are able to give them enough money to bring themselves to a financial point of, okay, we have something. We have strong markets, good institutions, a decent government. That is what's going to keep them from wanting to, have a coup. You know, excluding January 6th, when has the United States had an attempted coup? And I can even argue that January 6th wasn't even an attempted coup. It was just a bunch of dumbos that thought they can run into the Capitol building. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. Why? Because they know that it's going to tear apart their bank accounts personally and nationally.
yeah, and I could speak on that. Gabonese bonds are pretty much worthless now as a
Yep.
result of this coup. France has pulled out completely out of Gabon. Well, they're looking to now because they do have troops in the area that are looking to pull out. They are a big oil producing nation, and there's international companies like Total Energies and Perenco that operate there. So you're telling me that these coups are going to risk such an opportunity? We're not helping them get that oil out and make it that a, a commodity they could sell easily. And it's a big problem with market access as well in Africa.
Yeah, and what are you opening this up to? I mean, you're opening up to pirates, to gangs, to criminals that are going to, again, or the next regime that becomes, like, let's say, a dictatorship, to exploit their natural resources for personal gain. I mean, the people are right to be happy that Ali Bongo is gone because he exploited their natural resources, and his dynasty had $92 million. But they don't know how to fix. They don't. They're not, and it's not that they're not intelligent enough to fix. They just haven't had the practice, and this is where the United States can come in and help, or Europe can come in and help. But instead, we abandon them. We abandon them.
How did we miss the whole Ali Bongo situation where he has spent his dynasty embezzling millions of dollars? How did we miss that? Because now that we're continuing talking about it, what I'm saying is this could have been a preventable coup. Because how did we miss this for 40 years that
do
his
you
family has been doing?
do you think the French government just did not see like $92 million worth of purchases? Like, just like, whatever. Let's ignore it. It's fine. 92 million. What is that? It's nothing.
It's going into our country. It's being invested. There's real estate propping up. Where is it coming from? Oh, somewhere in Gabon. Something about a family that run the country. Where are they getting that money from? Ah,
Yeah,
it's not my problem.
whatever. Like, you could probably get away if you bought like a $300,000 house there. But $92 million? There's no way some accountant read that and just went, and chucked it aside.
It
Like,
came from Gabon, and it came from one family, and you wouldn't think that there's something going on there. I
yeah,
mean, the
well,
IRS does a better job at auditing people that they don't need to audit, and then the French government kind of just like
they
completely
just
missed
don't do it at
this.
all. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's a reason for it. It's because the French government probably had some sort of deal with Gabon to get oil and their natural resources, and in exchange, they would take all those riches, and Ali Bongo's family would take theirs. I mean, if you think about it, for the federal government for France, they're probably raking in hundreds of billions of dollars worth of oil, and for them, they're getting, $92 million worth of real estate and probably some other cash flow. That's life changing for someone who's never had that kind of money before. I mean, it's life changing for anybody, really. $92 million. So they're not going to say anything. Why would they say anything? And the French government certainly isn't going to say anything. So yeah, you're right. They probably saw it, but it was swept under the rug, 100%.
Absolutely. I think that I
Yeah,
just found that hilarious. It's like, wait a
yeah,
minute, back it up real quick. But
yeah. Oh, yeah. Dude, the,
but
the
I don't.
tax the tax revenue guy probably walked into the office and was like, "Y'all seeing this?" They're like, "Nah." Rips the paper in half and just says, "You didn't see anything. Go back to work."
What what was there to see? I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's probably ridiculous, but it's the unfortunate parts of our world.
Yeah, but I don't have anything else to say on the Coup and Gabon. If
No,
there's anything
nothing
else you'd like
else.
to add,
Yeah,
cool,
lots of
perfect.
good stuff. I mean, today was another. I mean, I like to think that all of our episodes are fairly important, but today is just another day in the office where we see the world changing at a very fast rate, faster than it ever has. I think since 9/11, really.
Hmm. Oh, absolutely. I totally agree. And there's a lot of things been happening in the international community this past week. I mean, what we have G20 coming up. We have a bunch of things going on. Russia, North
India changing
Korea.
its name to Bharat or something like that.
I don't,
Did you see
a
that?
lot of things. No, I
Yeah,
haven't, but I got to get in on that.
that's an interesting one.
But
Apparently,
there's
they
a lot of
submitted
things
a
going on.
Apparently, they submitted a document to the G20 saying President for Modi, saying President of Bharat. I think that's it. Bharat.
Interesting. I
So
gotta look
I don't
into
know
that.
what that is,
Gotta
but
look at yeah what that all is about. But we'll look into it.
yeah.
Cool. So
All
thank you all
right.
for watching, listening, whatever you guys are doing. Into this week's latest global developments. Make sure to check out our website, www.ngfnews.com. We'll be posting about 1 to 3 blog posts a day. So we're just going to keep adding content. And if there's anything specific you guys want us to write about, feel free to reach us on our social medias or reach out on our email, and we'll gladly write that blog post up for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a good one, everybody.